Hello everyone and welcome to Cineful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we've got a video for you talking about a question that's been asked a lot, and we've had people asking us to do a combat army video. Now, the issue I had with doing a singular combat army video is Age of Sigmar is predominantly a combat based game, and most armies can do pretty good combat variations, even the heavy shooting armies like Kharadron. So I thought I'd take that a little bit further, and I guess when I thought people were asking for combat, maybe they're talking more about something that's really good or something that can get into combat quicker, and that's sort of what I've gone for with this video. We're going to be talking about aggressive combat armies, and what I mean by that is armies that can get across the table quickly, almost always first turn, and get right in your opponent's face and start doing the damage in combat. So that's going to be, I guess, the baseline level we're looking at. Is the army needs to be able to get into combat really quickly. Now, we're choosing just to pick 5 armies to give us good examples for this, and hopefully any newer players looking to get into Age of Sigmar that are looking at more aggressive combat style armies, this will be of some help to you. There are definitely probably more than what we mentioned here, however, we're just going to look at 5 of them today. So this is 5 aggressive combat armies for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Number 1, we have the Daughters of Khaine. As you might expect, the daughters of the murder god Khaine are definitely on our list. Daughters of Khaine have a great few different ways that make them a very good aggressive combat army. Number 1 being that Witch Elves innately, when they've got their Hornblower, have Run and Charge, and you can also get Run and Charge with a command ability from your Melusai Ironscale to give those snake armies Run and Charge as well. Khanari are very fast in their own right and don't really need Run and Charge when you're that fast and have Fly. And Morathi herself is really quick as well, mainly Big Morathi. You even, as a base movement, have base movement most of your army around 6, which is pretty decent and fairly fast. So this means, your Witch Elves with a Run and Charge or Cistern Slaughter and stuff like that, they can all start moving 12. You've also got the ability to play around with different sort of sub-factions that give you ways to move around the table differently, like the sub-faction which gives you all the teleporting shenanigans, where you can teleport units around. You've also got some cool movement spells in there as well, and even things like Doomfire Warlocks are pretty decent at movement as well. I mean, cavalry are decently fast, especially Elven cavalry. Daughters of Khaine just can make a whole bunch of movement happen in their first movement phase in the game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and then really bring that pain to bear and that power to bear in combat, making them very good at being an aggressive combat army. Number 2, we've got Ogor Mawtribes. Ogor Mawtribes are a great aggressive combat army, and they're a bit faster than what they may seem just by taking a look at their war scrolls to begin with. They've got this really cool rule that makes them either hungry or eating, and while they're hungry, all ogre units that are not within 3 inches of an enemy get +2 movement. Pretty much they're trying to go get something to fill up their belly. Ogres, because of this, have a base movement of 8 on your basic foot troops, as they're normally 6, they get 8 all times almost. And it also means you've got all these other cool bonuses on your bigger creatures as well, because they're all hungry as well. This can mean your monster trucks, aka your Stonehorns and Thundertusks, can get across the table really quick and start dealing that damage to your opponent. There's nothing more fun, I think, than ogres charging across the table. They are one of those armies in Warhammer Age of Sigmar that is just fun to play with and against. I always have a good time versus ogres, and when I'm playing with my own ogres. Add into that, you've got a cool little movement shenanigan ability when you take the Hunter and some Frost Sabers, and you can even include them in a battalion together called the Skull. That gives you some cool outflanking and allows you to get off some really good charges, as the Hunter gives a bunch of benefits to the Frost Sabers around him when they're charging. So, pretty cool army that gets into combat really nice and quick, and really, it wants to be there. It wants to be fighten and eaten. Number 3, we have Auric Warclans. Auric Warclans are another great aggressive combat army. As they start to generate war points and they get faster and they get more deadly in combat, it's just an army that's full of stuff that wants to charge across the table and get where the fighting is good. They've got some decently fast units in Gore Grunters and the Savage Auric Boar Boys and Moor Boys and all that sort of stuff, along with the Mega Boss or Maw Crusher as well, who is decently fast himself. You've got the abilities with the War Chanter to give yourself some 3d6 charge rolls, and you've also got your wizards that can cast the Great Green Hand of Mor, or Gork, in which allows you to redeploy a single unit and get them in range. Add to this the fact that Ardboys get a ton of charge bonuses and a very multiple model units. They can be quite large units of 2 wound, 4 up save models, which is pretty decent. You can fling a unit of Ardboys and almost guarantee yourself a charge if you get some good rolls. I mean, it doesn't even need to be a good roll. It can be quite average. Ardboys are quite easy to get up to a +4 to charge. What makes this fun is the fact that orcs they like fighting. Much like the ogres we've previously mentioned, this army just wants to get into combat and does it really, really well. War points are an interesting mechanic that you can play in a big war army, but you've also got access to great aggressive armies in the other 2 factions within the Orruk Warclans books, in the Ironjaws and the Bone Splitters. Bone Splitters can make those pigs fly, and literally, I mean they can make those pigs fly and spear them across the table at your opponent, making them a fun army to play with a whole bunch of different tricks and multiple different ways to play. Orruk Warclans are a great army because it's a book that offers you multiple different ways to play, but in the end, they all play the same game, they just play it a little bit differently. They want to fight, it's just a little bit of a different fight with each one. And number 4, we've got Idoneth Deepkin. Idoneth Deepkin are a fun, aggressive army if you play in a particular way. You might have heard of the Army of All Eels, and well, that is the army I'm talking about here. Idoneth Deepkin army with eels are incredibly fast when you've got some base move of 14 on your eels, and they have fly, meaning they ignore all terrain and interposing models. This just makes them really good because it enables them to get where they need to be unhindered by things on the battlefield. Sharks and the Turtle add into this, and you've got fly on all of these models here, and they've all got decent basic move, allowing you to get them where they need to be. Now, added on top of this, you can take something called a Tidecaster, which allows you to flip around the tides for Idoneth Deepkin, meaning you're getting that all-important always strikes first turn in turn 2 rather than 3 if you flip the tides. Add to this, again, you can take a Soul Scryer who allows you to bring on units with him to deep strike on your opponent's board edges. It's just a really cool, fun, aggressive army to play. If you're looking for an aggressive army that's good in competitive play, you can't go wrong with Idoneth Eels. And number 5, we've got the Flesh Eater Courts. Where would we be talking about aggressive combat armies without talking about one of the most aggressive combat monsters in the game, the Terrorgeist, or rather the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. Flesh Eater Courts are an amazing combat army that just goes out and tries to murder absolutely everything on the table. They're all about just putting out ridiculous amounts of damage. Now, given they're not the most resilient army, though there are ways you can counteract that, and we're not going to really go into that here, but let's talk about how and why they're good and aggressive. So first of all, you've got your big monsters that are really your biggest damage dealers, have fly and are pretty decently fast. Add to this, you can also take foot troops called Crypt Flayers, which are your more monstrous foot troops, I should say, have fly as well. On top of this, you've got Varghulfs that can fly and a bunch of other stuff as well. Flesh Eater Courts also have some spells which double the move of a bunch of their models, meaning they can get up and really start doing some damage nice and quick. And your Abhorrent Archregent as well has an amazing spell on his War Scroll that gives plus D3 attacks to all profiles, making this amazing at putting on those Terrorgeists. You can really just fling this army forward and watch it absolutely murder your opponent. And what's great is there's particular ways where you can get Terrorgeists, unmounted Terrorgeists, and zombie dragons as battle line as well. Just making for a fun all-monster army that can really rip across the table and start tearing into your opponent really early doors. For me, this is one of the best ones, and they're decently competitive as well if you're looking for that as an option. Well, thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to leave some comments down below on what you think is a great aggressive combat army. All of this helps new players finding their way in the game. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and while you're on YouTube, go check out my featured channel section, where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators putting out everything from battle reports, tactical videos, news articles, and more. Also, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of the community, you can do so by following the link down to our Discord in the description of the video. And lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who supports the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to James, AJC, JC, Christian Weir, Philip Ward, Soren, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, Chaos Spawn, James Crowder, and Andrew Jarvis. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It means the world to us. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by following the link to that and both those Patreon and YouTube members in the description of the video as well. That's it for today, folks, though. Hope you've had a good day. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.